GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is he?
It's
How good is he? Let's get it, GMGP. It is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, rounding out the 2024 calendar year. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with myself and my brother from another mother. Y'all know who it is, baby. JRich. You can find him on Blue Sky at your boy JRich. Yes, hit them air horns, baby. Who we got in the building? Jay, we had a competitive-ish Monday night game, man. My Cowboys, another loss, another L. But we showed grit. We
That's
showed
good,
heart.
though.
Took those Bengals down to the wire, baby. Took them down to the wire. Was popping with you. Matt in the building. Cold World TDE. Tyler, what up, baby? Yeah, that's what we do. We yell. We get excited. It's early in the morning. People are tired. They got crust and shit in their eye. They need energy, baby. You got to bring that energy. JRich, you better bring it today. Who else we got in the building? I saw Cold World TDE. Patrick in the building. Ryan in the building. And Vike Z. Anyone starting Debo versus the Rams? We're going to talk about Debo Samuel here in a little bit. Stanley was popping with you. Marcus, what's up, my dog? GM. Joe, but Tank is a better runner than ETN. Joe already in defense. Shit, Joe is trying to set lineups. We're trying to talk about what's going on. Joe is already Tank Bigsby versus ETN. She's already balls deep in the fantasy content. Appreciate everybody being in the building. Thank y'all for this Wednesday show. JRich, how you doing this morning, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We had some interesting news break over the past couple of days, and we're going to talk about a lot of it today. I still think the Bill Belichick stuff is like really cool. We'll obviously talk about that.
We'll talk about it.
There's a bit of news to get into as well. But yeah, some beef in the NFL, and we'll probably talk a little bit of McVay versus Shanahan, where I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, McVay owned Shanahan, very similar to how Brian Flores has owned Shanahan over the past few years. But lots to talk about, and of course, that Monday Night Simpsons game that we all got to witness, which turned out to be a little bit better than expected.
They really pumped that Simpsons connectivity there. They did a lot with that during the broadcast, man. It was a competitive game. The Bengals won. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, you know, we got to hit y'all with the content that dropped on the channel and what's dropping later today. So tonight, we did this show probably 7 weeks ago.
Week six.
Week six. Scott, myself, and Shane, we were talking through tight ends, wide receivers, dynasty buys, sells, using our score, Trinity. And we're going to do it again tonight. So Trinity Report live, going down this evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shane, Scott, and myself, we're going to be going through them. Trey McBride, George Pickens, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Jackson Smith and Jigba versus DK Metcalf. Are you really buying into Jerry Jeudy longer than the 2024 year? And, you know, Tee Higgins, Jamar Chase, 101, wide receiver 1, all that good stuff. Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb. We're going to talk about it all. Be here on the channel tonight. Trinity Report live, using the best damn wide receiver tool in the fantasy football space. Go to DD Fantasy Football right now to try it out. And you could use JRich's code. Link is in the description. You try it out half off for the month of December. We also dropped a mock draft video on Monday. Check it out. Mock draft video. Drop this thing on Monday. Got to check it out. Jay, some good picks in here. I had my Dallas Cowboys taking a linebacker prior to the DeMarvion Overshown injury, which we'll also hit on in the news. But make sure you check out the mocks, some other interesting spots. We had a new quarterback land inside of the first round in this mock, and Pats fans are finally happy with old GQ because you got Travis Hunter in the mock. So check that one out. Check that one out. And then Dynasty Theory, they are catching heat this morning, Jay. They are being fired up over their ranking of Brian Thomas Jr. in their 2024 rookie class redraft rank. Hey, you know us. We are very high on Brian Thomas Jr., Jay. That's one of the rookies we nailed pretty early. I'm happy about that one, man.
Yeah, I mean, there was someone in the comments the other day talking about my awful rookie analysis, but, it's easy to forget the hits that JRich does have from time to time. And, of course, Ray, you do pretty good yourself as well. But, yeah, of course, we see all the comments because we monitor the back end, and just everyone is Brian Thomas, Brian Thomas, Brian Thomas. And that's probably somewhat our fault because we've been very pro Brian Thomas, even back to, May. You did a video in June, We've been on Brian Thomas for a long time, and now I believe, Ray, he is leading all rookies in receiving yards, even ahead of Brock Bowers as well. So
very good player.
Again, he's playing pretty good,
very good player
with Mac Jones at quarterback right now. But is there anything else you want to get to before we get to the news? There's a little bit of news that we have to talk about.
Yeah, let's hit it, man. Let's go right to
it.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's go straight facts.
The biggest news in the world of sports. Covered and brought to you by one man, Jordan Richards. This is Straight Facts.
All right, so we're going to touch on a lot of interesting stories throughout the show, but some of these smaller news I did want to bring up in the Straight Facts segment is one, talking about George Pickens and his potential availability in Week 15. We're going to see early in the week, it was reported that he's likely going to be missing this week because of his hamstring injury. And then Mike Tomlin came out and said there's an outside chance he plays. Part of that, I believe, is because he understands how important George Pickens is to this offense, but he does need time to rest that hamstring. So they're going to be battling whether to potentially play him and risk a re-injury or hold him out for the game this week to hope he come back in Week 16. So that is an interesting story to monitor, because if he does play, I think he does see a lot of opportunity in the game. But if they don't have him available, I think that really hurts the offense. So George Pickens is one to really monitor this week, especially when it comes to practice, because he may be available, but I would say he's doubtful as it stands right now. Bucky Irving is another player I'd probably put more in the doubtful than questionable category. His head coach did talk about how he could be available should they're able to get his back to not be so tight. Right now it's tightened up. They're trying to see how it responds to treatment throughout the week, and that will determine whether or not he's going to be available.
Rashad White.
Would you start Sean Tucker if Bucky Irving is out? Sean Tucker's been pretty good as well when Bucky Irving
play
hasn't
the Raiders.
played.
I mean, maybe in a desperation flex, but you have no bias.
No, they played the Raiders. They played the Raiders. This week, I don't know who.
I don't know who they have.
Give me
no, I wouldn't. Just go to the next. No, I would not. I probably would not. No.
They got the Chargers, so yeah, you're definitely not.
Yeah.
So next, the interesting story is Tommy DeVito may start for the Giants because Drew Lock is dealing with some type of soreness. It wasn't disclosed as to what the injury is, at least as of yet. And we may see Tommy DeVito start once again for the Giants. That's pretty funny, but not much to talk about there. Kirk Cousins is not going to be benched at least this week. Now, I do believe if he loses to the Raiders, he will be benched. But Raheem Morris said that for now, he's their starting quarterback. And Ray, what's crazy is what he also said. I don't know if it's out of context. I was just reading a little blurb. He said the team needs to support him more. And it's like, bro, this dude's thrown 8 picks in the last 3 games and no touchdowns, and we need to support him more? Like, that to me is kind of crazy. Like, you can't be saying that when your quarterback is losing games, you're already not winning the division, and he hasn't thrown any touchdowns. Like, that's his only job, is to not throw picks and throw touchdowns, and he's doing the exact opposite. So I thought that was an interesting commentary about Kirk Cousins. Starting running back for the Carolina Panthers, Jonathan Brooks, or I guess backup running back for the Carolina Panthers, Jonathan Brooks, did tear his ACL, same ACL he tore again, so he will probably be out for at least 12 months. Again, when does he come back? When does the hype start to build? I don't know, but chances are he will be out for a significant amount of time and potentially even longer than you expect because he is coming off a re-injury of the same ACL, and the Panthers, in a corresponding move, did sign, Ray, I believe, if I was reading this correctly this morning, the leader in the NFL in yards per route run, running back / wide receiver, Velus Jones.
Let's go.
Favorite wide receiver in the NFL. So he's now on the Carolina Panthers. Could be a gadget guy. Probably not worth a pickup, but I thought it was interesting that they signed Velus Jones. And then Kenneth Walker is still dealing with his calf injury, may be unavailable this week. We're going to see he is going to be getting some treatment on that. Isn't that Zach Charbonnet?
Yeah, that's Sharp.
Zach Charbonnet would be great
if
Kenneth Walker does miss time. But yeah, so testing the calf, I think he's probably doubtful at best as it stands right now. So Walker probably missing another week, which is great if you have Zach Charbonnet, because Charbonnet has been awesome. And there was
really
talk, Ray. I wanted to bring this up because I believe it was Jimbo in the chat was talking about Max Fried's big deal.
Yeah.
8 years, $218 million. Most expensive contract for a left-handed pitcher in baseball. And I just want to tell you, Ray, I am so grateful the Boston Red Sox did not sign Max Fried. He is a great pitcher in the NL. When you bring lefties into the AL East, usually bad things happen. And it's crazy because they could have got Blake Snell. Blake Snell signed with the Dodgers for cheaper than Max Fried did. But they wanted to get Juan Soto. They couldn't get both. So the Dodgers sneak in. They get the better pitcher who already won a Cy Young in the AL East versus Fried, who is 31, signed an 8-year deal for $200 million. And in my opinion, will not be as successful in the AL East. So we're going to see. I don't think it's going to turn out as well as people hope, but the Yankees are desperate. And shout out to the Yankees. They lost on Soto. Now they're just desperate, signing everybody for big money.
You are
recapture
loving
the magic.
This baseball. Is this free agency? Is it free agency?
Yes, winter meetings in Dallas,
meetings?
right?
Okay.
The winter meetings in Dallas. Yeah, lots of money being thrown around this year because last year it was awful.
Fried. Boyan said all this to lose in the playoffs again. Whomever you're talking about, all of this to lose in the playoffs again. Yeah, unfortunate stuff with Jonathan Brooks. You know, we touched on another injury earlier. Quickly at the beginning, DeMarvion Overshown, the second-year linebacker from Texas of the Dallas Cowboys, also tore his multiple ligaments in his knee and is expected to probably miss the entirety of the 2025 season. Unfortunate for a player that the rumor and the reports were everybody in the locker room, offense, defense, coaching staff, they love this kid. Hell of a player. Everybody was heartbroken for him and devastated by that injury. And it makes another position of need for the Dallas Cowboys. There were already multiple things that they needed defensively, offensively. Add another position of need to the Cowboys, which is inside linebacker. And they have not had one since they had a healthy Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith years ago. So this is just another thing to pile on to what Dallas has to do in order to improve. So let's talk about that Monday night game a little bit, Jay. The Cincinnati Bengals won 27-20 on the road here in Arlington, Texas. They beat the Dallas Cowboys. They now have 5 wins on the season, and I believe the Cowboys are 5-8, if I'm not correct, on the season.
Those two are tied with the Saints at 5-8. Yeah.
They're both tied 5-8. Don't know where the updated NFL draft order is based on that loss, but throughout that game, it's been very clear. It is clear. You put it in the show notes. Jamar Chase is chasing the Triple Crown, and he's probably going to get it. He is.
Yeah, at this point.
After not doing much of anything the first 2 weeks of the season, he has been nothing short of incredible, showing why he is the best wide receiver in football, why he's going to have the highest paid contract at the position in football after the season, and why he is going to bend the Cincinnati Bengals over and give it to them. All of it. All of Uno will be inside of Cincinnati because he is going to make him feel the pain this offseason. Jamar Chase is going to be the highest paid receiver in NFL history. He's probably going to be the 101 off of redraft boards, underdog boards next spring. How damn good is he, Jay? How good is Jamar Chase, and what is too high of a price to pay for him? Like, is there any world in which you would just sell the farm to acquire this player in Dynasty, or is it just the train has left the station, and good luck if you don't have Jamar Chase, and good luck if you're playing the team that has Jamar Chase and Saquon Barkley on it, because that was definitely within the cards of possibility this year. If you have Chase and Saquon, you're probably dog walking the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Ray, it feels like, again, I don't want to be too crazy here, but it feels like it's almost sell Jamar Chase season, not buy Jamar Chase season, because he is, of course, leading the NFL in receptions. I think he's second or third in targets. He's first in yards by
he's got 15 touchdowns?
Do you want to know what's crazy? He has 15, I think this is only receiving touchdowns. Do you want to guess what number 2 is? Because there's, 2 players who are tied for second, Terry McLaurin and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Do you want to guess how many touchdowns they have? Because it's pretty ridiculous.
9.
They are at 9 touchdowns. That is 100% correct. So he not only has 15, but number tied for 2 is at 9 touchdowns.
He's
how good he's been. He's leading the NFL in yak as well over Devon Achane by over 70 yards. And all Achane does is catch pass in the backfield and run up the field.
Jamar Owens. And I don't mean that in a negative way. when I watch it, all I see is Terrell Owens. I see one of the best receivers in NFL history. He plays, T.O. could do anything. He'd go over the top. He could beat you in the short game. He could yak you to death.
Yeah.
He's this generation's version of Terrell Owens. He's incredible, man. We had 2 dope receivers on the field that night for Cincinnati. Now, Tee Higgins, the other one, Jay. Tee Higgins didn't do much of anything in the game. Tee Higgins, what was his final stat line, Jay? Do you have Tee Higgins' final stat line? I don't know what his stats were, but immediately following the game, Higgins tweets out, I know, followed by a laughing emoji, and like the entire fantasy space commented under there and had a good time with him. They're like, it's all good, T. We get it. You've done good for us this year, but you didn't do shit this game. He knew it. And it's kind of fun when you see them engage with the community a little bit. Like, I know I didn't do a damn thing tonight. We'll get you next week. What did T do in the game, Jay?
5 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards. First game, he hadn't scored a touchdown in his last 4, right? He scored against Cleveland, the Chargers, and Pittsburgh. So it is what it is, right?
I'm glad there was some levity.
Game.
They won the game. He knows he didn't do a damn thing. It's Tee Higgins. He's going to be good down the line. And since we're here, speaking of T, there are some rumors surrounding Tee Higgins. Jay, there were some rumors that the New England Patriots are expected to go, in quotes, all in for Tee Higgins this offseason. New England has the most projected cap space in the NFL for 2025. As a New England Patriots fan, how would you feel about that? Tee Higgins in New England with Alex Van Pelt, Gerard Mayo. Doesn't sound like there's any rumblings about either of them losing their jobs or replacement at the offensive coordinator position. How would you feel about T with Drake May, knowing that the Patriots still have they're going to have a top 4, top 5 pick in the NFL draft?
Yeah, so here's my issue with the Patriots. I do not trust them to evaluate wide receivers at all. Or develop them, because they've shown no ability to do so. You could have just said, how do you feel about Tee Higgins and Drake May? I would have been happy, because when you throw in Mayo and Van Pelt, I'm kind of like, I just don't want to think about them right now. Everything else is okay. But I love Tee Higgins. They're talking about paying him the moon, probably like $30 to $35 million a year for T. I think he's close to deserving that, especially on a new team. And to lure him to New England, they'll need to pay him the money to do so. I think it's a great fit. He needs a big body receiver he can get the ball to. He's already making plays and throwing the ball to players like Kayshon Boutte, who, again, not a player who separates at a high level, but he's able to find creative ways to get him the ball. And I think T would be a great asset for this team. And especially when you talk about developing a young quarterback, I understand wanting to pair him with a young receiver, but there's just too much newness here. Bring in a player who's an established veteran, knows how to run routes, succeed in the NFL. Like, to me, that's a better plan. And maybe use the draft pick to, once again, fortify the offensive line with a position that's very difficult to obtain, especially in free agency, because not that many guards, tackles are even available in free agency, or potentially trade down, accrue more assets, and pick up maybe some other wide receivers down the line. I still think signing T should be their number 1 priority, not drafting a Ted McMillan at like 4 overall, or, Travis Hunter could be a difference maker and could be worth it, but I still think signing T should be the number 1 priority.
Man, we're going to talk about Travis in a minute. I agree with you. I think the play for both Carolina or New England, I would try to sign Tee Higgins. I would prefer the veteran, and I love Ted McMillan. I think Luther Burden is talented. I like Emeka Egbuka, but if you're really trying to accelerate the development of your young quarterback, go get a veteran receiver. Get somebody who has seen every type of coverage, who has been successful in the NFL. Go get one of those guys, and then backfill. Get you a Ty Felton in the 2nd or 3rd round. Grab you a Kyron Lacey in the 2nd round at LSU, another young dynamic playmaker that can learn and grow under the veteran leadership of the wide receiver core that you have in place. I, too, am a big fan of Tee Higgins in either Carolina or New England. I think that'd be great for Bryce Young and also great for Drake May. But I have to ask you, Jordan Richards, and all of y'all in the chat, Cole World, Stanley, Joe, Weeze, Dro C, all of y'all asses, Elwood, Hunter Joe Green, on Monday, you and all of y'all people watching this stream were so dismissive, very dismissive of number 88, CeeDee Lamb. Puka Nacua, definitely ahead of CeeDee Lamb. 1,000% ahead of CeeDee Lamb. If it were me, Ray, I'm taking Puka Nacua 10 out of 10 times over CeeDee Lamb. Jay? You know how good Lamb has been on the season despite despite all of the issues,
yeah.
despite all the issues in Dallas, he's still third in the NFL in receptions, third in the NFL in yards. He's only had 5 touchdowns, but in this game, he had 7 for 91 in the score. 7 for 91 in the score. Nah, don't y'all backtrack now. Which one of y'all were talking? Puka easily over CD. Jay, you want to double down on that one? You want to stay
I didn't
with Puka
say that.
over CD
This isn't
Lamb?
what I
Is that
said.
what you want to do? Is
But
that what you're telling the people?
Here's what I will say, though. The best part about CD having a great game and looking good was it 100% validated your major point. If his name wasn't Puka Nacua and he was black, he would be much more highly rated in NFL.
How does that
circles.
validate?
Because there's just something about CeeDee Lamb with the dreads and the swag he has on the field that I'm like, I want that guy. But
Yeah, I know you want that guy.
They do similar things so similarly, and they're very similar talents. Like everything that CeeDee Lamb did on the field, Puka Nacua could do the exact same thing with the same level of success. But the difference is his name isn't CeeDee Lamb. He doesn't have dreads and tattoos. And I just think it's hilarious.
Jimbo said he's 10 toes down. He's standing on it. Jimbo wrong as hell this morning. Joe said, I never said a bad word about Mr. Lamb. Nah, there was a lot of Puka over CD talk. But I'm asking you, are they?
I want CD.
Are they? Is CD in Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson's tier? Is he in that tier of wide receiver?
I believe so. Yes, with Dak. With Dak, I believe he is 100%.
Is Puka also in that tier? Let's try not to separate them. Let's try to be inclusive here. We're going to be inclusive of all races and creeds and wide receiver locations, and the tattoo count on your arms will not matter. Is he in that tier or not yet? Is he just a cut below those guys? I don't give a damn what people say this morning. I think when it comes down to a snake draft and you see Chase go off the board and you see Jefferson go off of the board and you're staring down the barrel of CeeDee Lamb and Puka Nacua, I'm going to venture to say that more people than not would still prefer CeeDee Lamb over Puka Nacua.
But that's not what you just said. That wasn't the question.
I know. I'm changing it. I'm changing the question.
So now you're
around.
changing the narrative.
I'm changing it around.
So,
I still think more people would prefer CD to Puka.
And I agree with that. But do you think that Puka deserves to be in that tier? Because I've said this for and you know this, I've said this for years. Amon-Ra is not a top receiver for fantasy. Even though he's wide receiver 3, I don't believe he should be the third wide receiver off the board. Maybe you can make the case for Malik Neighbors because he is wide receiver 4 right now. But do you believe that Puka belongs in the CD Chase Jefferson tier?
Right below. I think he's next up. I think he's like the next up from that tier. But how he finishes this year 3, I think that's when I
think he's really showing he deserves to be in that tier.
I think he's going to be.
I think
there.
That's it.
I think we can go ahead and put him there. I think we can put him at the bottom of that tier. Maybe Jamar and Jefferson are in a tier of their own, and then
they're in the ridiculous stratosphere tier, right?
It's just fun to argue about the razor-thin margins between the elite guys, because that is fun. No one wants to talk about Cortland Sutton versus some other old. They're good. They're old. We'll take them. It's a great tier at the top. It's a great tier of receivers at the top. But the final thing from that game I want to talk about, any issues with Micah Parsons. You know, that's our brother from Bleacher Report. You know, we chop it up with Micah from time to time, and we are very fair. Very fair here on this show. Make sure you pull up Bleacher Report. You got to check me and JRich out. Micah leaves the field early in that game. He was pissed off, Jay. He was sad. He was upset. He was hurt. There was a lot of conversation around Micah leaving the field early. I mean, LeBron does it all the time in L.A. He just walks through the games, 2 minutes left. LeBron's in the locker room if they're getting beat down. You got any issues with Micah leaving the field early, and does this signify anything about his future in Dallas, in your opinion?
So I do want to clarify. Did he leave early, or it just seemed like he left immediately? Like the game ended and he was basically off
clock
the field.
Was counting
he
down.
didn't handshakes or anything. He just left,
down.
Right?
There was still time on the clock, and he's walking off the field. By the time he
didn't want to exchange handshakes and stuff.
Yes, he
they,
did not.
They done the final snap and all that stuff, and he just left. So I've always been of the belief that
I think he left with some time, but it was over. Yes.
The best is someone just kind of put in the chat. The best comment about that was he's got to go record his podcast. He's leaving the field to go record his podcast. So
Dude,
I
feel
think
it.
Mike
I
is
get
gone,
it, man.
and
It's,
I've kind of
pressure to get that
I'm kind of
for him.
Once you have Dak signed and you have CD signed, there's no way he's staying. And the way this team is derailing.
Oh, you don't think he's staying? You think he's out?
Do you think they have the funds to sign him? Maybe. But again, even Micah's not stupid enough to understand they may have the funds to sign him, but then what's left for this team, right? They're already a team that's struggling to acquire assets with Micah on this rookie deal. He may be on the fifth-year option by now or close to it. But at that point, you sign him for what will be what, Ray? $140 million probably? Like another CD type of contract?
The biggest
$100 million guaranteed,
whatever
probably
he's got,
edge rusher?
It will be the biggest. No, it would be whatever the largest defensive contract in NFL history is. That's what he will top.
That's what he'll demand. And he'll be deserving of that as well, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not like we're trying to...
He'll get the largest contract in defensive side of the ball in NFL history. No doubt. Yes.
Yeah. And so at that point, why would he come back? He could get that on any team in the NFL. I'm sure there's 31 other teams that would sign Micah to whatever that $150 million deal is. And he doesn't have to come back to a place where they didn't want to pay him. They didn't prioritize him as a free agent. And the team stinks right now. So I think he could find a better situation, and he probably should walk. Again, does this mean that he's done with the Cowboys? Could be. Seems like he's very frustrated for sure, especially the way that game ended, because they did have a chance to win that game. They did get the final stop.
They did.
And whoever it was messed it up, right?
Muff punt, the punt kerfuffle, and interception in the red zone by Cooper Rush, who was awful, and people once again asking for Trey Lance. They are right after the game. We want to see Trey Lance. Get Trey Lance in there. What do we have to lose? Well, immediately following the game, the Cowboys came out and said emphatically, the only way Trey Lance is going to play is if Cooper Rush suffers a catastrophic injury. Trey Lance will not see the field. So for those of you still holding out 2021 rookie draft hope for Trey Lance, it's probably not going to happen this season. I don't know what to think about Dallas. I don't think this team is in as bad of a boat as another team we'll talk about from New York. I'm very nervous, man. Micah said he wants to play here, but he also said he wants to play with Mike Tomlin. He likes Philadelphia. I don't know what he wants. He said he's already said that, Jay. He came out earlier in this year and they asked him if there were another team coach that you would love to play for, who would it be? Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. So I don't know.
Nick Bosa's deal is?
What did Nick Bosa get?
Nick Bosa got 5 for $170.
Yeah, Mike is getting fucking close to $200 million.
I didn't know he got $170.
Yes, he's going to receive higher than Nick, the highest defensive.
He will get higher than Bosa for sure. So he's looking at $175, and the Cowboys can't afford that. They can't afford to give Parsons $175. Like, there's just no way.
I don't know, Jay. We got a lot to talk about though. We got to go to the other NFC East team. We got to talk about some drama in Philadelphia. We're going to do that right after the break. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like the content. If you're watching the stream and you are not subscribed to the channel, do that right now. We'll be back right after the break. Let's go. Appreciate y'all waking up with myself and my brother from another mother, JRich. Make sure you tap into all the content on the channel. Got a lot of stuff dropping over here on DD, especially later today. On Monday, I dropped a 2025 NFL mock draft, an updated one. Had some new picks here in round one. Still no trades. We got plenty of time for the silly shit. Just straight 1 through 32. Pull up, check out this this NFL mock draft 2025. We also have Dynasty Theory, redrafting the 2024 rookie class. Make sure you pull up to check out John, Mitch, Dan, and the guys on Dynasty Theory talking about the 2024 rookie draft class. And tonight, live on the channel, we're following the dots, and y'all know what it is, baby. You got to trust it. Trinity Report live with myself, Scott Connor, and Shane Manila. He is the worst, but he is the best over here on DD. We'll be going through Dynasty buys and sells at the tight end, wide receiver position, using our usage tool, Trinity Score, which you could find on ddfantasyfootball.com. JRich, ready to talk about your boys, the Eagles, Philadelphia, A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and company, all the stuff going on. And we kind of talked about this on Monday. I asked you, Jay, was this an issue? You're like, not big deal, no issue, none of that stuff. But I don't think you had really seen what was going on. So let me just play a little clip from A.J. Brown after the game, and you tell me if this is a non-issue or an issue, and then we'll hear the follow-up from his current teammate. Let's listen to A.J. Brown.
Offense wasn't good enough. What are some things you think that the offense needs to improve on? Passing.
AJ, I know everybody wants to get in a rhythm, and Devontae was acknowledging that. You know, receivers, just like running backs, want to get in a rhythm. How hard is it as a receiver to get into a rhythm when you guys are only throwing the ball like 20 times?
Incredibly tough.
It seemed like there was a moment on the sideline when you threw your helmet into the bench. What prompted that reaction?
3 and out.
As a leader on this offense, what's kind of your approach this week in changing the result in terms of everyone, and not just you, a lot of the players on offense saying that this was just not up to the offensive standard?
Putting our head down and just going to work, doing the things we're doing and learning and growing.
What are the conversations?
All right, Jay, so you could hear and get the tone that he was very frustrated, right? The Philadelphia Eagles right now are number 1 in the NFL, averaging close to 200 rushing yards per game. Jay, they are 31st in the NFL in passing yards per game, I believe at 140. I don't know which team is lower than them. I'm going to assume the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go out on a limb. And I think it's JRich. It ain't Bryce Young. I think it's my boy, Anthony Richardson, that might be lower than the Philadelphia Eagles. But point is, not good when your team is as good as Philly is and they're winning, but they're doing it in ways that do not please your stars, your superstar players. Who is it, Jay? What is it? What is it?
It's the Pats.
It's the Patriots. It's your Pats. So the Colts are
Pats.
averaging more passing yards per game than the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do you want to try and guess the 5 teams? So we gave you 2. There's 3 more just for fun. Who the Colts are passing for more yards than?
Carolina.
That is one of them. Yes, just barely.
So I need 2 more teams.
2 more teams.
The Raiders.
Or 3 more teams, sorry.
The Raiders.
No, not even close. Think of teams that have been awful, not just this year, but like for years.
For years that have been awful?
They all have quarterbacks that are god-awful. Like that you would have...
Tennessee.
One of them.
Tennessee,
yes.
Tennessee.
One other awful quarterback and the other one's a rookie.
New Orleans.
Who has not been good. No, way worse than that. Way worse. As bad as Tennessee. Terrible offensive line, terrible quarterback who got benched and then cut.
Got benched? Who?
The Giants.
Oh, shit, the Giants. Yes, the
and
Giants.
then your boy out of
course.
USC, Caleb Williams, third last.
Dude. Caleb, they're that bad. All right. Well, it didn't
182
stop there.
passing yards
hold
per
on.
game. Yeah.
It didn't stop there, Jay, because after that, there was some more. It's like soap opera. It's like drama, reality TV. There was some more drama out of Philly. You want a little more Philly drama? Listen to Brandon Graham.
Always.
Brandon Graham,
Oh,
captain,
Brandon Graham.
Super Bowl champ. Might be a Ring of Honor player for the Eagles. Listen to Brandon Graham. Pillow talk on a podcast.
Out for the year.
The person that's complaining need to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he know this. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be a little better with how he respond to things. And they was friends before this. It's like, man, but things have changed. And I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business. And that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let personal stuff go and let's get right for this game, because, man, it's like a lot of stuff, most of the time, it's just a conversation that just need to be had. But the person with the problem got to want to talk to the person other than others.
Care to expand on your feelings of
JRich, the person with the problem has got to be willing to talk to the other, right? So Brandon Graham, what he's doing is pillow talking. He's talking about other people's business, which he probably should not be doing. In my opinion,
Considering you're an active player on the team.
in my opinion, he probably shouldn't have been doing this, but he did. And he said there is an issue between 1 and 11, and I'm watching the game, Jay, and there were a couple of plays where A.J. Brown was wide ass open, right in the end zone. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why would Hurts not throw the ball? Does he not?
Why is he
My
not first
question
read,
to
right?
you, how big of a problem do you think this is? How problematic is Jalen Hurts for us in fantasy football, for the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith managers? And Nick Sirianni responded to this, and he's just pretty much like, we like competition. We like the fire. Hope they can work it out. What do you think? And there was a person in the chat last week that said, on Monday, that said, yeah, Philly probably needs to get ahead of this. They need to get ahead of this issue as they move towards the NFL playoffs in the offseason. I got A.J. Brown on a couple of teams that there are no trade deadlines. I want to move him, Jay. I don't want to trade. I don't want to trade him because he's such a talented player.
Yeah.
But I might have to split him up to get some more options because I don't feel confident in watching him go out there and have 200 yards this weekend. But my question to you is this a problem? You got the second to last passing volume offense in the NFL. Clearly there's an issue. He's only getting 5 targets a game. How big of an issue is this?
I think it's definitely a bit of an issue, but the problem is that it's not an issue that's going to change because the Eagles' philosophy has changed.
Yes.
Right? Before they were I wouldn't say pass heavy or pass first offense, but they definitely made a concerted effort to pass. They have Saquon Barkley now. They have the best rushing attack in the league. And that probably should piss off wide receivers that signed $100 million contracts knowing they're getting the ball probably 6 to 10 times a game, right? And now you have a situation where you have the best running back in football, probably by a mile at this point, and you're running the ball very effectively, and Kellen Moore isn't doing a good enough job to spread the wealth, and A.J. Brown has gone from being option 1 to maybe being option 2 to option 3, because it seems like Devontae Smith is even a preferred option right now as it stands to A.J. Brown, because Brown gets top coverage and sees more double teams than Smith does, and of course Saquon's getting the ball a ton, so I understand the frustration, but I think part of it is just this is the team now. It's a very different constructed roster, and I don't know if that's going to change. Can they fix this in terms of the relationship? Absolutely. It doesn't necessarily mean the results are going to play itself out on the field. And ultimately, Ray, I don't think this hurts the team a ton today because I think they can still win games in spite of this potential conflict festering because they're a great team. And they're not going to, and they don't win by throwing the football. If they're a team that needs to throw the ball 40 times to win, then yeah, this is an issue. When they can throw it 15 times and win, not as big of an issue, right? So I think there's two different things here. One, Graham shouldn't have said anything. You're literally on the team. You're out for the year and you're going on a podcast airing this dirty laundry. And in my opinion, Ray, the biggest problem is he took sides here. He said one is doing his best.
One is trying.
11 needs to chill out.
11
and that's the biggest problem. If you just say, look, these guys have their disagreements. These things happen throughout the year. They're competitors. Like Nick Sirianni said, it's fine. But you can't take a side. You can't. As a current player who is an active member of the team, who's now out for the year with your injury, like you can't do that because you're basically saying that you have an issue with what AJ's doing because you want to defend your quarterback who arguably isn't even playing that well right now. But this is what happens in the NFL. They back the quarterbacks and they shade the other players. But I'm happy that AJ is finding a voice because we've seen this throughout the league this year.
But what's going to change? I'm to your point. What's going to change? They're still going to run the ball.
They don't need to change
times
to win.
a game, 40 times a game. They're going to run the ball. They're 11-2. They're 11-2. Defensively, they're playing great defense. They're not in spots where they even have to throw the ball a ton. They haven't even been in that position where they're down by 10, 20 points, and they've got to throw their way back into the game. How many double-digit target games do you think A.J. Brown has on the season?
I'll say 4.
Week 1.
See, it's just how many 100-yard games does he have?
And his next highest target game was week 2 versus Cleveland, where he had 9. Has not eclipsed 9 targets since week 2 of the NFL.
So we had 19 targets the first 2 weeks, and then he got hurt after that, right?
His first two games.
Yeah.
First 2 games, and then no more 9-target games since then.
And then they went really heavy on the run game, and they never went back, right?
100-yard performances, he's got 4, so you nailed the 4, and the highest output in those games is 119.
Which, given the offense, is fine.
That was in week 1.
Right.
That was in week 1. So it's unfortunate.
Team now.
And their upcoming schedule is definitely one in which they should have some success, Jay. Their upcoming schedule is not. I'm looking at
It's an
Philly
easy
right
schedule.
now. They've got the
Steelers,
Steelers.
Commanders.
They've got the
yeah.
Steelers, Commanders, and Cowboys. And then they
Yeah.
finish with the Giants. Whether they have to play in Week 18 or not, they should be able to
Well,
find
probably will have to because of Detroit, right?
Yeah, this is interesting. This is interesting. All right, Jay, let's talk about the 49. Well, real quick, some more NFL rumors before we get to the 49ers, because that was a little funny, and then we'll talk a little college and a little Bill Belichick. There are some rumors around the NFL, Jordan Richards, that New York Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson potentially is going to ask to be removed from the Jets situation this offseason. Karen Rodgers has wrecked his team, as we've talked about over and over again, and he probably still wants to play football, even though the Jets are 3-11 or whatever the hell they are. Garrett Wilson says, I want out, potentially. These are the rumors, JRich. Garrett Wilson wants out. What do you think about G-Dub moving on from Gang Green, and do you think this will happen? What's his outlook for this offense? Breece Hall is due for a contract, I believe. Are they going to extend him? Knee injuries. You got Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. Is this Jets team kind of crumbling under the iteration that it currently is right now, or do you think Aaron Rodgers will be back and they'll just run this bad boy back?
Yeah, I'm definitely nervous about Aaron Rodgers coming back because he's been pretty bad this season. He had a pretty good game against Miami, to be fair. But the crazy thing, Ray, is that Jay Glazer reported in the past 2 days that Aaron Rodgers has been playing through a hamstring tear, an MCL sprain, and a high ankle sprain.
Okay.
So, remember a few weeks ago, there was that rumor that Aaron Rodgers was refusing imaging from team doctors because he didn't want to reveal the source of his injuries potentially plaguing him that he's been dealing with. And now we find out that he's got a hamstring tear, an MCL sprain, and a high ankle sprain, which, of course, would explain his lack of mobility overall, which has been a skill set that he's been pretty good at, even with the Achilles tear. He still can move pretty decent in the pocket. And then on top of that, him struggling in general, those types of things will do that. When your lower half is that injured, it's going to be a problem. Now, Garrett Wilson's still on pace for his best season ever, career high in touchdowns with 5, which is ridiculous. He's already eclipsed 128 targets, which we talked about all offseason. Now he's going to see the volume, 877 yards. So I think he could be an asset for a team. He's going to be going into the season, Ray, or the offseason, where they have to decide on that 5th-year option.
Yeah, 5th-year option.
Assume they pick it up, but that would give him 2 more years. But the thing that's interesting about this is it reminds me of Brandon Cooks when he got traded every season. I don't think he has to go to a team that's going to extend him. He may just go to a team that wants him.
He's not going anywhere. They're going to re-sign his ass.
I think so.
You don't think so?
You think he doesn't want to re-sign, though? I think if you're an NFL team somewhere else, you want Garrett Wilson. And so if the Jets are trying to reset and all these things, if you're Garrett Wilson, do you want to deal with a new quarterback that could be another Zach Wilson or Aaron Rodgers again for another season? And I think that's the problem. As much as I'm with you, they want to re-sign him. They may give him, the 140 or whatever that he's probably due. I don't know if I'm Garrett Wilson if I want that. Because there is a lot of spots where he probably could go and get a lot of money and play for a good team, or at least a better team, better structure, get out of New York. Everyone talks about wanting to play in New York, but I feel there's, at this point, if you're a Jet, you probably want out of New York and go just about anywhere else. But we'll see. I think he wants out. You think he wants to stay, though?
I think money talks ultimately, and I think they're going to offer money. If you're the Jets, you got to sell tickets somehow. You got to have something in the building for fans to get excited about. I don't know how much Breece Hall is going to command, but I don't think they can let Garrett Wilson walk unless they get a big package. Now, I didn't think that the Titans would trade A.J. Brown on draft day either, and we saw that happen to Philadelphia. If you were a team that were in need, let's say all these wide receiver needy teams in the first round, would you rather pay a first-round pick for Luther Burden, Ted McMillan, or Emeka Egbuka, or would you trade that for Garrett Wilson? I would rather trade for Garrett Wilson.
You trade for Garrett Wilson.
I guess we'll see when that time comes. There are reports out of San Francisco, Jay, that the 49ers are going to be working on a long-term deal to extend their quarterback in the future, Brock Purdy. A lot of conversation has been surrounding Purdy. Do they pay him? Is he worth $60 million? Because that's probably what the market is going to command. It's already being reported that they are working towards that. They're going to pay Brock Purdy, and he probably is going to end up, in my opinion, Jay, having the largest contract in NFL history when it's all said and done.
Really?
Surpassing that of Dak Prescott. I think they have no choice. I mean, the mortality of Christian McCaffrey is staring them in their eyes. Trent Williams is getting older. Deebo Samuel is not the same player. He looks big. Somebody say he needs to, I think it was Ian Harditz that said he needs to stop playing around and switch back to number 19. Get out of that. No, he's been awful since he switched to number 1. It's Nick Bosa on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, you got to take care of your most important possession, and that is the QB. I do think whether it's warranted or not, hell, I don't think Dak should have been the highest paid player in NFL history, but that's what the market demands at the quarterback position. I do think Brock is going to get it, Jay.
Man.
I think he's going to get it. If you're Brock Purdy, I'm not accepting shit else. I took this team to, a Super Bowl and an NFC title game in my first 2 years starting? Yeah.
He did.
I think his touchdown to interception ratio over the last 2.5 years is tops in the NFL. Yards per attempt, tops in the NFL. Passing yards, one of the leaders over the last 2 years in the NFL. Touchdowns. You might not like him, but statistically, he's top 5 in damn near everything, except for when he's pressured. Whenever you send blitzes at him, that's when things hit the fan. He's going to command it. And if I were his agent, you damn well better believe I am asking for the largest contract in NFL history at the QB position. Yeah, they're going to pay him.
Okay, but does he deserve it, though?
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It does. No, okay.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Does not matter.
But why? Why? This is the same conversation we had about Dak.
You know why? Because there's only 32 of those jobs in the world. There's only 32 in the world. So if you're in the range to get paid, then yes, you deserve it. There's only 32 of the jobs in the world. And if you're in the range,
he deserves a contract, but should San Francisco give it to him? This is the same Dak conversation, and you see how it
doesn't
played out.
matter, man. That is irrelevant to the conversation. Whether he deserves it, but yes, he does. If you're going by statistical play, yes. If you're going by Super Bowl championships, nobody deserves it besides Mahomes.
I'm saying, should the Niners pay him? I don't think it makes sense, man.
Yes,
I don't think.
How many languages do I have to spell out?
I don't think he's enough of a difference maker to pay him $60 million. Is he better than Dak Prescott? Yes or no? And I think the answer is emphatically no. Not
is
even
the person that was hired in my role in my job better than me 10 years ago? No, but that's what the market demands, so they get paid more than I did when I came in.
But that doesn't. Yes, the market is what it is. But you are still, as a franchise, you still have the option to choose to pay him or not.
Okay, so what's the other option? Don't pay him and then do what?
Do what you did when you got him. You drafted him in the 7th fucking round, and he took you to the Super Bowl. He's a great quarterback. That doesn't mean that you need to pay him $60 million.
So what do you pay him? We're not going to pay you. What are you going to pay him, 40?
You just let him go somewhere else. You've already shown that you can do it with a quarterback that nobody expected anything from. Why don't you go pay Sam Darnold $40 million? I bet he can do a similar job, and it'll save it $20 million. Why can't they do that? He knows the system. He was there last season.
I'll say this.
I don't think it makes sense to pay Brock Purdy. He's a good quarterback.
He's just, if not more deserving than Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, all those other quarterbacks that got paid. But now you want to put, you didn't say that shit with Trevor Lawrence. You didn't do that. You didn't do that with any of those quarterbacks. It was
How?
Just fine.
When have I ever said a good thing about Trevor Lawrence?
I didn't say you said a good thing, but we weren't up here stumping for them not paying T-Law.
Our whole point with Trevor Lawrence is they have no choice, and that was very evident. They had no choice.
What choice
I think
do the Niners
do have a choice. I think the Niners 100% have a choice.
Let me tell you
something,
They've
already shown they can succeed without a quarterback.
Let me tell you something,
this
dude.
high-paid caliber.
Life, I'm going to just give you, in life, you don't do that. You don't remove the CEO, the boss, your contractor without having a replacement plan, a viable one in the building. And there is no other option. You let Brock go and then do what? What do you tell the rest of your team? What do you tell the rest of the squad that's there to win? We don't want to pay him. We'll draft the 7th round rookie again this year and we'll make it work with Kevin Rourke out of Indiana. No, that's not how business runs. That you don't do that.
And again, you can do that if you've already shown the ability to do that. It's, hey guys, maybe you should trust me because I've done this. So
around
again,
Purdy,
I don't think that it's a situation where you have to pay him. They already have a good team. And they could probably get a quarterback in there for a cheaper option to save the money to build the roster. I don't get why this is such a controversial take with you.
I don't get why paying Brock Purdy is such a tough.
I don't get should be paid.
Okay.
When it hasn't worked for Trevor Lawrence, for Dak Prescott, like all these guys who are getting paid, it's not working for these team constructions. So why is it that the Niners, who have a good team outside of Brock Purdy, should pay him? That's all I'm saying. Like, you can win another way in the NFL. You don't have to do.
You can win without a QB, huh? When does that happen? Who's done that?
All I'm saying is, and this is my point from the very beginning.
Can you win in this league without a quarterback?
If you make it to a Super Bowl, how much more do you expect? Because once you get the Super Bowl, who are you playing? You got to beat Patrick Mahomes. So, again, can you beat Mahomes on a quarterback? Probably not. But he already couldn't beat Patrick Mahomes, and he played him twice. So, What's the difference here? If you're talking about winning it all, you got to beat Allen or you got to beat Mahomes or Lamar. And in the NFC, your goal is not to win because what are the chances
we're going to go back 25 years. Literally, we're going to go back 25 fucking years to the Ravens.
What about Joe Flacco?
We're going to go back
Joe
then,
Flacco
right?
wasn't this crazy
when
quarterback.
the fullback still wore a goddamn neck brace. That's what we're doing. We're going to go back 25 years and be and let me tell you right now, this Niners defense is not the 2000 Ravens. Not even close. No,
it's not.
No. There is a
But you paid Purdy $60 million, then what are you going to do with that defense?
All right,
that's my problem.
Well, pay him. I think they're going to pay him. I think he deserves to be paid, and I think it would be a good decision to pay him that money under this contract.
Was it smart to pay Ayuk too?
I didn't say shit about Ayuk. I didn't say no, it was not. And maybe it would have been, but he got hurt. Like, that's a cop-out. He got hurt. If he hadn't gotten hurt, no one would have said anything.
I think whether he got hurt or not, it didn't really work out so well for him when he was available. So.
Neither here nor there. Jay, the Heisman finalists were announced. Let's pivot, talk some college. The Heisman finalists were announced. Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Dylan Gabriel, and Cam Ward are the 4 Heisman finalists, leading a lot of people to be pissed off, saying Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders was snubbed from his invitation to New York. And let's take a look at Shedeur versus Ward. Shedeur Sanders, 39-26 passing versus Cam Ward's 41-23. 35 touchdowns for Sanders, 36 for Ward, 8 picks to 7. So Ward, a little better numbers than Shedeur Sanders. But Shedeur versus Gabriel. Gabriel, 3,500 yards to Shedeur's 39. Gabriel, 28 touchdowns to 35 for Sanders. And Gabriel had 6 picks to Shedeur's 8 interceptions. Jay, do you have any problem with the Heisman voters leaving Shedeur Sanders off of their finalist lists?
Personally, no. Dylan Gabriel is literally playing on a team that is undefeated, and he is running the show for that team. The Heisman, much like a lot of MVP awards, best player on the best team, that is Dylan Gabriel. He runs the show for Oregon. No issues there. Other 2 players obviously having tremendous seasons. I don't think you need to have 2 Buffaloes in the Heisman race at all. I have literally no issue with it. Shedeur had a good season, but Gabriel is running the best team in the country right now, and he had a great year as well.
Yeah, I think he should have had an invitation. I know what Travis is doing is incredible, but Sanders is the one throwing him the goddamn ball. Anybody watch Colorado and the passes and the accuracy in which he played in and how good he's been? Definitely think he was snubbed a little bit in favor of Dylan Gabriel. But to your point, he's the number 1 team on the number 1.
Still undefeated, right?
Undefeated. He's going to get
I don't know how many snaps he got relative to Shedeur, because maybe he's taking some second halves off.
No. Oregon didn't take much of second halves off against anybody this season. They might have been number 1, but they weren't out there just blowing teams out. That was not the Oregon Ducks this fall. And that sort of leads us to the final topic that's Colorado related, but kind of not Colorado related. It has been announced that Bill Belichick is going to accept and become the next head coach at the University of North Carolina. Jay, this took a lot of people by surprise. I think when the rumors first started, a lot of people were like, is this for real? Bullshit. Is he really thinking about taking on a college program in North Carolina at that? Well, yes, he is. And there are some reports that there's a underlying deal that his son, Steve Belichick, will take over once he's done. My question to you about this, and I've been thinking about this, I think this was a good move by Bill. I kind of like it. And my question is, do you think he can have a similar type impact in the college football game that Deion Sanders did at Colorado. And he's at a much better school, higher profile school than Colorado, a school that has been good in college football historically, a team that has put multiple first-round pick quarterbacks in the NFL. You've got there's talent all across the board at North Carolina. UNC, Chapel Hill, you've got this historic coaching ground, right? You got Duke and North Carolina, Coach K, Coach Williams, Coach Mac Brown was there before. Now you bring the Hoodie Bill in to UNC. I think in a different way, not in the flashy gold chain, rappers in the locker room type way, but I think Bill can have a similar type impact on the college game that Deion did in a different way. What do you think?
So I think it's very interesting, right? Because when you actually read more into this, it sounds like a situation that players should want to go to. Like, all Bill has talked about is development of football players. And you've said this time and time again. Head coaches in college do not give a shit if their players make it to the NFL. They can talk all they want. They are there to win football games, to keep their jobs, and the development of players to the NFL is the furthest thing from their mind as it comes with like 95% of players. When you got Drake May, yeah, you want to get him to the league.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. But Bill's whole thing is, I want to have a pipeline for NFL players. And if you hear that as a recruit, how the hell are you not going there to learn NFL schemes, to be coached by NFL coaches, to be groomed by NFL trainers, strength coaches, nutrition, like money management, all the things that go on with being a professional? And here's the kicker, Ray. All of these players are going to be treated like professionals because they are professionals. They are all paid to play football. And I think the idea that Belichick is going to turn North Carolina into a not just kind of behind the scenes NFL pipeline, but a true front facing.
I do
this
too.
Is our goal to get you to the NFL is huge, because as much as Nick Saban would send all these players to the league, and Kirby Smart is another sends tons of great players to the league, and NFL GMs and coaches love players from these programs, Belichick doing it is like a completely different story. This is a Hall of Fame level coach saying, I'm going to prepare our fourth string cornerback for the NFL. Like, that is insane. And I think he will draw a lot of recruits and a lot of interest. Again, the impact to Deion is kind of like, I don't really see the parallels there, but I think it's very interesting that he's going to send a lot of programs. I think the way he wants to go about it is very cool.
I really think that he will be able to get a lot of players to come play for him. And Bill Belichick is smart enough to where, just like Coach Prime, he surrounded himself with good coordinators, right? He focused on it's so funny, the things that Prime talked about, they're coming to fruition now. Remember those days where you just looked at recruiting classes and whoever had 35 stars, they had the best class. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they all transfer out. Prime said a couple of months ago, we don't want to recruit 50 people and then have to babysit and keep them here. We're going to go recruit a select number of guys that are going to play right away, get our transfers in, and we're not going to have to worry about that type of attrition year after year. I think Bill's going to be able to get parents. It's still, as a parent, man, when they come into your home, you're thinking about, where am I going to send my son or daughter for them to be taken care of, to grow and to develop into young men, to young women. You better freaking believe that Bill Belichick will have an impact on the decision that parents make to send their kids to a 100%. School, to send their kids to North Carolina versus Clemson. I think he's going to have a tremendous impact in the college game. It's going to look different than Deion Sanders, but I think he can have that same level of success. He's going to be able to recruit it. He's going to be able to get people to come play for him, man. I think he's going to be able to get people to come play for him, and I think he's going to be able to win in the college game. And he's doing it at UNC. They're going to be able to get talent there, man. This is not a dumpster fire squad,
which is crazy.
Command the Room said, what has Coach Prime accomplished? Took the worst fucking team in college football from the bottom of the depths of college football to a bowl game in the second year. That's what he's accomplished. No one said he's won a Super Bowl, a national championship, but he took one of the stone worst teams in college football, and in a year and a half, he's got them in a bowl game and 9 wins. I don't care if you don't like him or any of that stuff, but to watch sports, to watch the game and say that is not an accomplishment, I've got to downright disagree with you. Anybody that thinks he has not accomplished anything in college, that's bullshit. I just don't agree with that. And much love, but I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by this story. I think like when you actually sit down and read some of the things he talked about, and it sounds like it's going to be a massive investment from the school as well. Like it's going to be not just hiring him, but the players he wants, what he wants. Like he's going to have complete control, and they're going to have to pay for all the things that he wants. But ultimately, when it's done and ready, it should be a very well-run program. And I'm very intrigued by all of this because I think to your point, like, how does Bill Belichick not walk into a room and say, I want your kid to be our starting running back? And anywhere else in the country, you say, yeah, go somewhere else. Go play for Kirby Smart. Like, as established as these coaches are, as great as some of these teams are, I still think Bill will have, with all the things he has planned for these kids, to develop them as not just players, but people as well. Like, I think it's a very intriguing proposition for a lot of young talent that wants to play in college football.
I'm just looking. Yeah, Colorado hadn't had a 9-win season since 2016. 2016. The most wins they had prior to this season was 2017, and that was 5. 5 teams, 5 games. So, yeah. Agree to disagree.
You see some steam headed towards Genty? Did you see that?
Pardon?
Some steam headed towards your boy, Ashton Genty.
Some steam? What kind of steam?
Money steam.
To what? Win the Heisman?
He Travis's odds. Yeah, Travis's odds a little bit.
I don't think so. Hit the music, man. Hit the music. Appreciate everybody being in the building. Everybody joining in this Wednesday for this show. Make sure you check out all the content on the channel. Destination Dynasty, Scott Connor on the podcast feed. Check him out. Dynasty Theory, Mitch, Dan, John, and the guys talking 2024 redraft and the rookies. I'll drop the mock draft on Monday. And we are doing the Trinity Report live tonight, myself, Scott, and Shane. So make sure you pull up 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that one. Jay, anything you want to say to people before we get out of here on this fine Wednesday?
No, man. Hope everyone has a good day, good show. Excited for Thursday Night Football between the Niners and Rams. Should be a good game. And we'll obviously preview that. We'll talk about that game and preview the rest of the slate on Friday. And of course, answering your questions. So make sure you're here for the Q&A. We'll have a lot of fun as we always do. But like, subscribe to all the content, watch all the stuff that's coming out. There will be a new Shane Says dropping tomorrow. He's gonna have some tough conversations about old JSN. He's talking about the players that he was wrong about this season. So tap in for all of that, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
We out. Peace.